So we're talking about polypectomy techniques, basic polypectomy techniques. We're talking about a simple algorithm to guide you towards the correct choice of technique and how to correctly perform surveillance after polypectomy.
So, I mean, this polyp, you could do that cold.
Okay.
We flick on the MBI.
Yeah. I'll just sit in front of it a little bit.
Yeah, so this is a benign tuberoadenoma. Maybe it's 7 millimeter, I suppose. Could do that cold. The transection might be a little slow because it's got a sulcus through the middle, but there's no high risk features there.
What do you mean by that, Michael? That's interesting for people watching. A sulcus through the middle. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's like a groove. The groove in the middle of the polyp there, which is not uncommon with these sort of flat adenomas. There's definitely residual adenoma there. You can see. So even though the excision looked clean, it looked like it was perfect. But so this just shows you that you have to be.
Hold. I should have selected an easier lesion, Michael.
That's all right. Yeah.
David.
Which we learned from all this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Would have been an option to inject it and to be more successful for blood resection?
I mean, I have to say that I wouldn't have done, and I don't think that doing piecemeal is a problem here. Michael, do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, it's totally fine to do. I wouldn't inject such a small lesion.
John Anderson still on the call?
John isn't in this session right now, but we can get him in if you like.
He's shouting at me from behind me. I would inject that.
There you go.
Oh, John, why don't you come over here if you're there? We have a mic.
Get in the studio, Anderson. Michael, this is a better view of the defect, eh?
Yeah, well, that's perfect. So this is the beauty of cold snares, that you can, the margin of the excision is much more easily evaluated. So if you'd used diathermy, it would have been hard to be certain, but we can see that you've achieved complete excision here. Okay, let's have the snare.
Christoph's getting a little flavour of your education style, Michael.
Everyone can learn it.
I think that, but this, and so I'm just, we keep with this because I think this is just such a fantastic example of how to train in polypectomy. So if you guys in the studio don't mind, I would like to stay with it.
No, absolutely. And we will put the next presentation online for everybody who wants to see it, because indeed, very nice training video.
So David, Michael, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yesterday we talked about.
We're going to lose a cushion, but we're going to lose a cushion, but that's a. Can we? I'm happy to answer the question, but I don't want to lose the cushion. So let's open the snare. 15 quick on the right. I can't see. Can we see the? Let's have the endo. We need a big image of the endo.
Show the endoscopy image, please.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And keep pushing down. And don't advance your snare too much. Just keep pushing down. Push, push. Aspirate gas. Good. Now you're going to close slowly. Keep the pressure down. Lots of downward pressure. You've got to get the heel of the snare on the mucosa. See how your contact is. That's okay, but did you see how when I say the heel of the snare, I mean where the catheter meets the snare wire. That's got to be firmly applied like that on the mucosa. That's the mucosa. This has got to be like that. Anyway, you can cut that off. Okay, and now you have a nice groove to grab this thing on the left. Sorry, Amir, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask, with this lesion, first for the evaluation, would you routinely retroflex in such a lesion to better see what's proximal to the fold? Awesome. And regarding the initial injection, would you not prefer to do it on the proximal side beyond the fold and start with the more difficult area?
Yeah, so with the retroflex, I think where this is in the colon, it might have been tricky because this is proximal transverse.
I think it's, proximal transverse or hepatic flexure type zone. I did try and retroflex here. I couldn't see it in retroflexion, Amir, so indeed, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always helpful to retroflex if you can, if a lesion crosses a fold. If you're going to look at this in retroflex, you'd have to go down to the cecum, retroflex, and then come back to the hepatic flexure and then zoom a little bit beyond. Sometimes you can retroflex just there in the proximal transverse, but depends on the scope. You know, you might need a PCF to be able to retroflex there.
So this is, I talked about proximity to the lesion. This is an older video, but it makes a great point. So they've put a dirty great lift in, there's probably some tattoo in, and we're thrashing out the polyp with a snare from a fair distance away, and you can just see the lack of control. Then you've got a bit of polyp trapped in the snare, and you can't disengage